Hey guys, it's Cody. I'm on day 94 of the Odin project. Two quick updates before I go into what I did the past couple days. The first thing is Emily and I are going to be alternating our vlog days. So she'll go, I'll go, she'll go, I'll go. On the last day of the week, we'll do our weekly updates. In addition to that, going forward, since we're going to be doing that alternating approach, I'm also going to try to do the streaming again, but having it be done in the evenings. That way I can get things done during the day and focus on the projects that I need to for finishing the Odin project, but then we can just chill and you guys can ask me questions or dive in and we can just all hang out and have a good time on those alternating days. So that'll be on Twitch. Just keep an eye out for stuff with the channel or me on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitch, then you can also check there. I think I'll be doing that in the next couple weeks. And for now, it's just probably going to be me this week still. Em is still MIA, but she should be coming back soon. All right, let's take a look at what I did today. And it's actually the past 2 days that I've been working on the Odin project. So it's been a couple days since my last video. First thing that we're going to look at is this dashboard page. If we take a look here, we're at the dashboard page. So if you've been watching my videos, you'll recognize this. We'll see over here the nav bar menu is now smaller. I condensed it because it was very big. It was taking up a lot of horizontal space. So I made it smaller from a horizontal perspective, stacked the icons and their corresponding text. And then I also created highlighting of the tab that you're currently on and also hovering for this. So this is fairly straightforward stuff. At least it seems like from a CSS standpoint. But for React and trying to do this, I did actually have to kind of create some seemingly essential components. That's what we're going to take a look at over here before we get into the what I have now. This is what was happening before. So for this nav bar over here, we had this link that was, that's a component within React Router DOM for using links and putting them around that. So essentially think of like A elements within HTML. That's essentially what this will produce. It's going to be specific to the paths that you have within your route switch. And within the link is the list items. It has an SVG for the icon, its corresponding path, and also the text. So that's what we see up here. And we have one of those for each one of these icons and the links over here. So it was a lot going on one page. So then it's been condensed so that we have something like this now, which I'll actually just go to the next thing. It looks something like this, where we have this link content component, which I made, and I'll show you that in a second. But essentially we have current page within props for the dashboard nav, and we're going to be using the similar on-click event here. But yeah, the link content down here is going to pass along current page and on click to the link content, and also this page name props as well. We see that here, page name, current name, on click is coming through with props. And based off of the current page, if the current page is equal to the page name, then the link will have specific things for it. So specifically for this one, it's going to have this current class name that is added to something that has current page and is the page name for the link content. So we have several link contents over here. There's only going to be one of them that is going to match the current page, which is coming from the state of the outlet. So if we go back over here, we have that one, and that's essentially what we see over here. That is going to have the current class, and everything else is just going to be nav item and their page name. And then going one level deeper within here, I just, for the icon text, each one has kind of a specific icon text. I have some conditions here to make the specific icon for each specific one. We have specificity for lexicons and discover here because of the way that they are made. Lexicons, that's a custom SVG. It's very complicated, so I have a component for it. And then for the discover, this has some spacing in between the magnifying glass, and we want that to have a fill of none. So that's what's unique about this one. And then down here, everything else has a fill of white because we want all these to have fill. And then they have corresponding paths that will be made based on this icon path, and so for the icon path, it takes a page name. If we go back here, icon path, these paths are being defined up here. Icon path, page name. This is going to be generated for each link content over here. Icon path, page name, So we have a switch statement here. We have a path variable that we're going to set depending on the cases of the page name. And so if it's home, it's going to get this path. If it's attribute, it's going to get this more complicated path, set of paths, and so on and so forth going down. That seems pretty complex, and it kind of is, but it was the only way that I kind of tinkered with that kind of came through. There were some other suggestions out there, but this was what worked for me with how I have things set up. Okay, so next thing we're going to take a look at is within the dashboard. So we're in the dashboard right now, but we're going to have an add page that is essentially going to have the lexicon information forms. And so I originally had this down here as a separate set of pages with a separate route. So it would go the website name /add, then /lexicon /attributes menu. Here it's going to be /dashboard, then /add, which is what we see up here, and then the lexicon. So here we see the lexicon form that is coming up. So the form works still, and it is functional, but I'm going to tailor it for being utilized within the dashboard. And to do that, I am working on something that is going to essentially be interactive to allow the user to see what they've entered into the database for each lexicon as they're building it. And essentially, it's going to be a flavor wheel. This is what I worked on today. This is not how I want it to look just yet, so it's still a work in progress. But essentially, I'm using D3 to create this dynamic data-driven document, which is what D3 stands for, data-driven document. I'm using D3. D3 has always been something I found interesting, but it was always kind of out of my context for things I could use at work. So I did a lot of statistics and R programming and that kind of stuff. So it was mainly reporting. There's definitely some things I could have done D3 with, but it's more for this web space. And so I think this will be a good application to use it within, but I've never actually gotten a thorough understanding for it. So this is getting a little bit outside of my comfort zone, and this is definitely outside of the scope of the Odin project. But yeah, using D3 over here, and essentially what I want to make is this. And I want this to be the thing that grows as the user adds attributes, references, and that kind of stuff to it. So it's not going to be exactly this. It'll probably be, this has it broken down into different sensory attribute categories, and then it has, I think it's 3 layers. I think that's probably what I'll have too, 2 to 3. It'll probably be modality in the middle, and then the attributes, and then maybe some text for the references on the outer edges. But as the user adds to the form, I want them to be adding attributes kind of one segment at a time. Within D3, it's essentially kind of like a very elaborate pie chart, except you have a hole in the middle, and then you have to define these arcs on the edges. And so I'm using this article to help me with stepping through D3 to actually make what I want to do. Essentially, it's making these arcs for these donut shapes and also attaching text to them as well. And so this talks about doing that, placing text on arcs within D3.js. And specifically down here is something fairly close, not exactly, but fairly close to what I want to do in regards to this flavor wheel. So we can see some of the similarities here. There's definitely some tweaking that needs to be done. But going back to what I actually did today, so I talked about this is within the add pages. If we go over here to the add pages, we'll see that the FlavorWheelBuilder component is within the add pages. And this is going to show up for each form that's within this route. So I'm going to go back again real quick. So for lexicon, attributes name, references menu, all those different kinds of things for those forms. And currently we're on the lexicon page over here. But yeah, this is going to be generated. It's going to take the lexicon state, which is going to be made with this sensory lexicon factory function to create this flavor lexicon. So this is what it will be starting out to begin with. I have just this adding of arcs button working right now, but there's a lot of other stuff going on because it's a little bit complex. So if we go, FlavorWheelBuilder was the original that I scrapped, And FlavorWheelBuilder is the second thing that I'm actually following this tutorial with. So we're going to see where this goes. So essentially, this flavor wheel function is taking the code that's provided by that article that I showed you guys earlier, and I'm going to then modify it to what I want it to be and make the tweaks, try to understand what is being done. And I think it'll be a good, because this is probably one of the most thorough articles on this specific thing that I found, and I've been looking for something like this for a while. But yeah, I'm going to tinker around with this and try to make it exactly the way I want it to. That's all I have for today, guys. So I will see you guys probably in 2 days on Thursday.